In this video, I'm going to be going over exactly how to scale from 0 to 100K a month with a life insurance agency. We're going to be going over leads, systems, recruiting, training, and sales to make sure you have the full roadmap to go from point A to point B. Let's get started. So the first pillar that we talked about in the framework is leads. We're going to go over exactly how to generate your own leads, how to own your own lead flow, and to stop renting from vendors that are giving you terrible leads. Second, we're gonna go into systems. So we're gonna go over exactly how to automate your follow-up, how to stop spending all your time manually following up, sending reminders, and dealing with people that you don't need to deal with. We're gonna go into recruiting, how to actually get your first downline, how to recruit and build a team under you, and how to actually manage them with training, how to actually train your team, how to make sure they're as good as you at closing, so you can effectively scale to $100,000 a month. And lastly, sales that goes into training. How to make sure you're making the most out of the leads that you are acquiring and the customers that you are acquiring. We need to make sure all of these 5 pillars are dialed in to make sure you can actually scale to $100,000 a month. If you're missing just one of these pillars, you're gonna be capping your revenue. You need all 5 of them. So first, let's go into pillar 1, owning your lead flow. Right now, you're probably buying leads or buying exclusive or shared leads, whatever the case may be. But the shared leads, it's $1 to $50 a lead. You're competing with 10 to 50 other agents, and you have no control over your business. You're just renting data. You have no idea where the leads are coming from. You have no idea what the leads are seeing. You don't know how old the leads are. You don't know who else has access to these leads, and you don't even know anything about the leads. For all you know, they could just be selling you random people's data that they collected over the internet. This is crucial to fix to actually scale to $100,000 a month. Sure, you can get away with it up to 20, 30, 50K a month, but you're just gonna be in the hamster wheel of dialing leads all day. You need to switch over to exclusive leads. Sure, the cost per lead might be a little bit higher, $5 to $25 a lead, but all the leads are coming to you only. You have full control over your pipeline, and you actually own all the lead flow that's coming to you. And how do you get exclusive leads? You generate them with meta ads. First, you need an ad that stops the scroll. Why should people come to you? Why should people opt in to get final expense, term, whole life, IUL, annuities? Why should somebody opt in, leave their information, and actually take the time to speak with you? You need to make sure the ad is compelling and actually converts. And then you need to qualify the leads. You're not going to be dealing with unqualified people who have no budget, who don't know what you're talking about, who don't even know why you're calling them, which is what you deal with when you deal with shared leads. Then when you qualify somebody, you need to make sure they have a chance to actually speak with you. And you need to have a calendar booking. And of course, alongside that, you will also be contacting them. But create some urgency, right? You need to make sure these people understand they need to act on this now because they're going to forget. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want life insurance today. They wake up and say, oh, okay, let me see this ad. And then they saw it and then it creates the urgency. But 10 minutes after, they're gonna forget. So you need to make sure you capture their attention right then and there, and then move them to the next step. You need to hold their hand along the way. After they book on your calendar, they need to have a thank you page with nurture and reminders. What that means is testimonials, case studies, references, anything that will further push them to work with you and understand why it is important to get life insurance. And reminders as well, which we'll go into when we go into systems to make sure that they're actually showing up to their appointment, they're actually opening up to you, and they're actually expecting your call, and they understand what they opted into. So these are the 5 pillars of the ad. High converting ad, qualification questions, calendar booking, and a thank you page. And let's go into the actual targeting of the ads, right? So if you're targeting final expense, you need to do obviously seniors, 50 to 75. They're on the lower end of the income. You can target veterans or just people who are interested in retirement or getting to that age, right? Only those people. You don't want to target everybody, just a specific demographic of people so you can get the most qualified leads coming to you. And let's go into mortgage protection, right? Typically, they're a little bit on the younger side, maybe 30 to 50. They're homeowners, of course. And you can even target recently purchased homes. So people who just got a home, they want to protect their mortgage and their spouse or whoever the case may be, target those people. For IUL and annuities, typically on the younger side as well, unless it's annuities and they have lots of assets and income. On the higher end of the income range, some people even go into estate planning or something of that nature. So figure out your targeting, work that into the ad and actually build that ad around that audience that you're targeting. You can't speak to everybody, because if you speak to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. You need to target one specific audience. Let's talk about budget. So when you're running ads, if you've never run them before, you don't want to dump all your money into ads right away. You want to start smaller. I would recommend, if you're a solo agent, starting at $25 a day, which is about, let's say, $175 a week, which is not a lot in the month, right? Just test 5 ads, see what works, see what doesn't work, and get some data to actually build on top of. Because in weeks 3 to 4, you want to double the winners. So if out of those 5 ads, 2 of them are winning, you need to put more spend into those and turn off the ones that are not giving you the leads that you're looking for, right? And then in month 2, go to $100 a day. Of course, if you get more traction beforehand, you want to up this to $200, $300 a day. But of course, scale the performers and continue to test winning hooks. You see a winning ad, double that, make variations of that, different hooks, different bodies, but you know the format that works for that audience. And then at month 3, $200 a day plus, go to even $500 or $1,000 a day if you have that budget and if you're making that much return back from these ads. Reinvest and you will be absolutely off the charts scaling to $100,000 a month in no time. Hire an agency as well if you need to run the ads for you. If you're spending all your time editing videos and running the ads and dealing with all that, you need more time to close deals, train your team, and actually focus on what moves the business forward. Hire an agency to do that for you. And let's go into the ROI, right? You're spending $25 a day times 30 days, $750 in ad spend. At $7.50 per lead, you're getting 100 leads in the month. If you contact just 50 of them, you have 50 conversations, and let's say you book 60% of those. So you get 30 appointments in the month. Even if you close 30% of those appointments, that's 9 policies at $1,000 each commission. You're making $9,000 off of $750 in ad spend. That's a 12x ROI, and all you have to do is just continue to reinvest back into the ads to bring this number even further, which we'll break down in a bit. But to recap, pillar 1, just leads. Own your own lead flow. Make sure you're getting exclusive leads to you every single day so you can actually scale to the next revenue mark. And let's go into systems. So automating 80% of your follow-up. So let's go into the CRM components. First, you need a right pipeline. When the lead comes in, make sure they know that they're contacted if you haven't contacted them. Qualified, move them to a certain bucket if they're qualified automatically. Booked, so if someone has an appointment on your calendar, they need to be in a specific bucket so you're not calling them or your agents are not calling them because they already have an appointment. And then closed, you want to make sure you're not redialing the people that are already closed so you're not bothering people or even making them second guess their decisions because you're unorganized. And then the workflows that go into this. Every single time a lead comes in, you need to have an auto text go out immediately to make sure they expect your call, they understand what they opted into, and they understand that they're going to be talking to you very shortly. An email as well, and an email sequence. If they don't respond right away, you need to have a nurture sequence to re-engage these leads because they opted in for one reason. You need to make sure they are reminded of that reason to come to you. And reminders, of course, if they book on your calendar, you don't need to be sending manual text, hey, our appointment is tomorrow. No, it's all automated. Text, email, call, everything can be automated. You don't have to lift a finger. They show up to the appointment, you close them on the appointment, and that's all. Lead scoring, right? You need to make sure you know who's hot, who's warm, and who's cold based on engagement. A cold lead does not respond to anything, does not open emails, doesn't do anything. They're just completely silent. If it's a warm lead, maybe they responded to you, maybe they opened an email, maybe they're a little bit on the fence though. A hot lead, let's say they talks to you, they open your email, they booked an appointment, they're very hot, they're very responsive. You need to make sure you understand which segment each lead is in so you can correctly focus on the right lead. You shouldn't be dialing cold leads if they're not responding to you when there's hot leads in one pipeline. But you probably don't have that set up, so you're just dialing randomly. Be strategic, be effective, and be useful with your time. And just have a dashboard with every metric you can think of. You need to be tracking every single thing, whether it's cost per lead, contact rate, close rate, and ROI, right? You need to make sure you actually know what you're putting in, what you're getting out, and what you need to fix. Because if the cost per lead is high, you need to focus on that. If your close rate is low, you need to focus on that. If your contact rate is low, you need to focus on that. You need to make sure you know exactly where to focus your next steps are. You can't just be guessing blindly. It's your business. Stop just treating it like you're a sales rep, you're just dialing people. If you want to truly, truly scale, you need to actually focus on all the small metrics and dial those in. Team access, right? Small thing, but you need to make sure every person on your team has access to certain things and certain views. So you as the agency owner can deal with the bigger things. They can focus on what they need to focus on. And that's just an overview of the CRM setup. You need to have all these pieces in place. And this is just a visual flow of how it can look, right? Immediate confirmation, immediate SMS and intro, call, and we can go even to a setter in the next step. So when you're at that scale, you don't have to dial people all day. You can have somebody dial them for you, transfer them to you, you can close them. And then a nurture sequence like we spoke about, just to re-engage them, to reactivate them, make sure they're actually good. And then if they're even further out, so let's say 30 days out, they still haven't responded, we need another sequence to re-engage them. Because like I said, they opted in for a reason, you need to bring that reason back to their mind. And then just some key benchmarks to look out for. Cost per lead when you're running your own ads, $5 to $25 per lead. Ideal, you don't want to go higher than this unless you're targeting a very, very specific niche with a high return like annuities or higher income individuals. 50 to 70% contact rate. If you're contacting the leads within 3 minutes or 1 minute, you should be getting a good contact ratio. If you're dialing them an hour after they opted in, forget about it. You're not doing your part. You need to make sure you stay on top of that. 40 to 60% booking rate. You need to make sure you're getting these people on the call and either closing them on the call or getting them to book on themselves on your calendar. So you actually have a good chance of closing them. And on the appointments that do actually book, you need to have a 70 to 80% show rate. You're probably at 20 to 30% show rate right now because you don't have automated follow-up, you don't have automated reminders, you don't have anything to actually get them to be up on the call and show up. And 30 to 40% close rate. If you're closing anywhere below 30 to 40%, you have a sales problem, a follow-up problem, or a lead problem. One of those three that you need to fix. And that is crucial to lock in to make the most out of your leads. Because if you have 1,000 leads and you're only closing 10%, you're wasting money. You're leaving money on the table. And let's just do an ROI on how much you can save with automating this process, because a lot of people see this and they think, I don't need to automate this, I can do it myself. But you're saving over $6,000 a month in labor because you're spending 40 hours a week or a month on manual follow-up. And with the automated system, it's zero. And the CRM costs just a couple $100 a month to maintain. So you're saving all that time to close more deals, make more money, and actually scale your business. And that is pillar 2, systems. Automate the whole follow-up process so you can deal with closing deals, scaling your team, and actually moving the business forward. You shouldn't be manually following up every single lead, every single contact. And then pillar 3, recruiting. The 3 hires that unlock scale. So when you're actually spending a good amount of money on ads, let's say you're spending $3K a month on ads, you need to have an agency take care of this. You can't be dealing with ads, making videos, doing all that in Meta Ads Manager. Have somebody do it for you, or we can do that for you as well. Whether it's a retainer or the ad spend, whatever commission structure you make sure somebody's taking care of it. You can't be doing everything at once. An appointment setter, like I was talking about earlier, hire at 100 leads a week or even more if you can handle it. Whether that's an hourly appointment setter or commission-based, whatever you prefer, you can do that way, right? Because you can't be dialing all day for the rest of your life. You need to have somebody dialing them. And even when your team comes into play, you can have them get live transfers essentially from the dialer. So you're not picking up the phone, picking up the phone, picking up the phone. It's just done for you. And this falls into the automation process as well. And of course, the main thing that will take you to $100,000 a month, downline and agents under you, right? You need to recruit and recruit and recruit. You need to have a solid team, not just anybody that you can pick up, whether it's your warm market, whether it's recruiting through social media or ads. You need to have solid individuals that actually have the drive to make money, to bring you more commission at the end of the day as well, right? And let's go into actually like the KPIs per role. So an agency for ads, make sure the cost per lead is $5 to $25 a lead, and you can actually see these metrics and they're not just telling you. You need to make sure you have eyes on this. The ROAS, so the return on ad spend, let's say you're spending $1,000 a month on ads, you should see at least a 5 to 10x return. So 5 to 10K on $1,000 ad spend. Make sure they're testing new creatives if they are not working. If they're working, you don't need to test a bunch, but if they're not working, you need to test. If the cost per lead is over $30 and they're not testing anything, that's a red flag. You need to make sure they're actively testing. Just keep an eye on it. You don't have to do the whole process. A setter, an appointment setter, right? Make sure the contact ratio is 50 to 70%, they're booking 40 to 60%, and their show rate is 70 to 80%. So this, along with the automated follow-up process, it's game over. You're gonna be closing so many more policies. If your contact rate is under 40%, your no-shows are over 30%, it's a red flag. You need to train the setter better, replace them, or just figure out the next steps and action plan. When you have agents under you, make sure they're closing 30 to 40%. They might not start off with that if they're a little bit less experienced. You need to make sure you get them to that point so you can remove yourself and they can close deals. Average policy, right? $1,000 to $3,000 depending on commission structure, but you want to deal for that, aim for that as well. Revenue per appointment, right? You need to make sure you're dealing with a good amount of commission per policy. Don't be dealing with the lower amounts if you don't need to. If your team is closing under 20%, they're blaming the leads, you need to find out what the real bottleneck is, and that is a red flag you need to fix immediately because you need to make the most out of your leads. You need to figure out whether it's leads or the closing rate, or both. So you need to figure out what is actually stopping you from scaling. So in pillar 3, recruiting, agency, appointment setter, and downline. If you have all these 3 pieces in place, plus the automation follow-up, plus the leads that you're actually owning, you can effectively scale to the next level. And then we'll go into how to actually scale once you have these people in place, which is training. You need to turn the 10% close rate agents to 40% closing agents. And this goes all into sales, right? Building rapport, uncovering your pain, and permission to pitch, right? You have all the knowledge in your head because you have closed 10 to 20K a month on your own. So you need to be able to distribute that knowledge to your team and make sure they can effectively apply that knowledge and actually close more deals as well. So if you're dealing with everything yourself, manual follow-up, automations, everything yourself, the ads, you need to make sure that's all in place so you can focus on training your team. And you're just going into the pitch structure. So this is just an example pitch structure, but you can have any structure that works for you specifically. Everybody's different. But of course, recapping the pain, presenting the solution, pricing, guarantee, close, anything you want, make sure you have a specific structure and framework that you're using that you can apply to your agents, and they can put their own twist on it based on their personality. But it shouldn't just be all willy-nilly. You shouldn't just be throwing a dart on the board and hoping it aims, right? You need to make sure it's structured. There's a SOP in place. There's something in place that they can learn from. And of course, objection handling, the biggest thing. You need to have these calls with your teams, objection handling, role plays, anything you can think about. You need to have these situations happen so they can learn. They need to be uncomfortable. They need to face these objections, right? I need to think about it. Too expensive. I'm shopping around. I need to talk to my spouse. No money right now. You need to make sure your agents can handle all of these. It's just sales at the end of the day. If you have the right quality leads, if you have the automation, if you have everything else in place, they just need to close deals. And that's on you to keep them accountable and to push them to go even further. You can try any closing technique. Trial close, assumptive close, urgency, scarcity, guarantee. You pick what works best for you and your team. You know them best. So this is just one pillar that if you dial in, you will take your team from 30K a month to 100K a month in no time. If you continuously push them and they have the drive and motivation to actually improve, you'll be good. And moving into the last pillar, just sales, but actually breaking down how much you need to make and how many policies you need to close to make $100,000 a month. Let's say there's 3 ways to hit $100,000 a month in premium. 100 policies at $1,000 each, 50 at 2K each, or 33 at 3K each. You can decide what you want to do, whether it's more volume or less volume. And actually going into the ROI, reverse engineering the process so you know what to do. Let's say you get 1,110 leads. At $10 a lead, you're spending about 11 grand on ad spend in a month. Let's say you contact 50% of them. You have 555 conversations. 60% booking rate out of those 555. Let's say you have 333 appointments in the month across your team. You're closing 30% of them, which is 100 policies, at $1,000 each. That is your $100,000 a month. It's really that simple once you break it down. And if you have 80% commission or whatever commission structure you have, this is what you'll be taking home. You're making a 7x ROI on your ad spend. $11,000 in ads to over $100,000 in income. That is an insane ROI, and that's the ROI you can generate when you're actually generating exclusive leads with an automation follow-up and actually have every single piece in place dialed in. This is how you can scale to $100,000 a month. And the scaling timeline, let's look at that, because in month 1 to 3, it's you plus maybe one other agent. You're doing 10 to 20K a month around that mark. You're spending maybe $25 a day on ad spend, maybe 100 to 200 leads per month, 10 to 20 policies closed. You can do that easily by yourself even. You don't need another agent. Month 4 to 6, relatively. You can make this even quicker if you like, but this is just a consistent timeline to make sure every piece is dialed in. 30 to 50K a month, 2 agents you have under you, 1 appointment setter. Make sure everything is working together so you can get 300 to 500 leads a month. You're spending $50 to $75 a day on ad spend, or even more, I would recommend, and 30 to 50 policies closed. Super simple. 100K a month, 5+ agents, 2 setters, plus an agency to run your ads. You're getting over 1,000 leads a month. You're spending over 100, 200, 300 bucks a day on ads. You're closing over 100 policies. That is exactly the same process you do for each step of the way. It's extremely simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Agents, setters, agency, exclusive leads, automation, everything works together so you can effectively scale without doing more manual work. It's all about effectiveness, scale, and timing, right? And let's do like a quick 100K a month breakdown. You're spending $10,000 a month on ads. Maybe the agency is charging you $2K a month to run your ads. You have 2 appointment setters. Let's say they make $4K in total. You're spending 500 bucks on a CRM, right? Total expenses, $16K. Let's say you make $80K off the $100K. You're left with $63,000 a month. Let that sink in. Just with dialing in automation, leads, and your team, you can make over 60 grand a month over the next year. And it's extremely possible if you put in the work every single day to make this happen and dial all these little metrics in. And to optimize, even make more money out of the same amount of leads, closing rate, like I mentioned earlier, 30 to 40% close rate. If you just increase by 10%, you only need 833 leads instead of 1,110. And you're saving over 2 grand a month on ad spend because you're just closing more deals. You're not just getting more leads. You need to make sure you're actually closing effectively. And contact ratio. If you take it from 50 to 70% and your speed to lead is amazing, you only need about 800 leads instead of 1.1K. You can save over 3 grand a month on ad spend just by contacting more people and closing more people. When you have better training and better targeting, you have less spend for the same amount of revenue, right? So you're making your cost per lead, your cost per acquisition much, much lower. The bottom line, right? 100K a month is just math like we talked about. You only need about 1,000 leads, contact about 500 of them, book about 300 of them, close about 100 of them, and that is $100,000 in a month. And to break it down and recap again, lead generation, lock that down first with a meta ads funnel. Second, build a CRM and automate all the follow-up. Third, build a team, agency, setters, agents under you, all 3 to make sure you can effectively scale. Train everybody, make sure every process is dialed in. You're at 30 to 40% close rate. And of course, patience. Don't scale too fast thinking it's gonna happen next month. You need to make sure every piece is good or else you'll be scrambling to lock every single piece in at the very end. 6 to 12 months to build ideally. You can scale even quicker if you have the resources prior. And I just wanna say, you don't need a miracle, you just need a system. Everything is system-based. If you build the 5 pillars, if you trust the math, and you execute consistently on a daily basis, you can scale to $100,000 a month with ease. And I say all of this to say, it's possible that you can do it. You are able to do this no matter what, where you're starting at. You can start at 5K a month right now and then scale up to 10, 20, 30. It's the same step at each level that you're at. If you don't want to do this yourself and you need assistance, book a call down in the description so we can help you out. Like we've scaled agents from 10 to 50K a month just with ads. We can add a system on top of that, recruiting, training, anything that you need, we're here to work with you. Book a call down below. Follow my Instagram down below as well for more content. Comment for more video ideas if you'd like to see anything else. And I'll see you guys in the next video.